Welcome to the Didi Lital Show. Advice, thoughts, and stories from a married couple on cybersecurity, technology, and life in general. Now here are your hosts, Didi and Lital.
Hello and welcome to the Didi and Lital Show. It's another week. Hi, Didi. How's the Bruins doing?
The Bruins
Playoffs?
They were up 3-1, but now they're up 3-2 versus sending the Panthers home.
Last game of the series is today?
No. Hopefully it's the last game of the series because if they win. But if not, it's going to be a game 7, and we know that
That's not a good sign.
That's not a good sign. Also, I discovered that loser Maple Leafs fans, if you're listening to the podcast, you know who I'm talking about. Basically, every single one of them called me over this week because the Maple Leafs came back from being down 4-1. They said, "Oh, this is how it feels like." And I said, "Yes, but don't worry, you'll find a way to choke this series too." And they did last night. So hockey's playoffs are very much on. Celtics took care of the Hawks. Bill Belichick traded down and drafted another bum. Just so things are
life is usual.
Life is as usual. By the way, somebody in my run this morning called himself a Jersey Pats fan, and I was wondering, does Bill Belichick have relatives in Jersey? Because I think these are the only Pats fans left.
For sure, across the border
Yes.
of Massachusetts. Great.
Well, pardon for the interruption. Bill Belichick famously drafts anyone who graduates from Rutgers in New Jersey, and is good friends with John Bon Jovi, a New Jersey rocker. So there you go.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it was Bon Jovi. So, John, I really appreciate your music. Trust me, it helped me go through very dark times in my life. Although,
and still, you like pedal to it.
I love Living on a Prayer. I think
while riding your Peloton.
Yes, Living on a Prayer is an awesome song. It used to be played in the third quarter when the Pats were up, but since a certain guy now lives in Florida, they're never up in the third quarter. So,
all right.
And by the way, they're gonna even lose to the Jets. Yes, thank you.
Bon Jovi. And he's a guy that always looks like he's still
awesome.
in his 30s.
Yes.
Like, seriously.
Yes.
Wow. He ages so well. Him and Sting. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. Okay. Well, we recently had a female CISO on a podcast.
Yes.
Kayla, thanks for coming. And coming out of RSA conference, we felt like we need to bring this topic of diversity in general and gender diversity in the security industry. We both care about it. We have a lot to say about recruiting, promotion. I read a bunch of people on LinkedIn saying that walking the show floor and going into events this week felt like a room full of white male dudes, which is true. I was in a few events that if I wasn't the only female, I was one of a few, and we kind of like huddled together to feel maybe safe. I feel safe in those events, but
that's the Israeli part of you.
Maybe. I think there is still a very serious problem of lack of diversity, and I think it's not well handled. And I would love for us to find a way to bring more female to different roles in cybersecurity on the vendor side, and most importantly on the practitioner's side, because I think this is where you have even less. I mean, you go on the show floor, there's a lot of us in marketing and sales, maybe less in sales, more in marketing, which, yes, that's like I recruit a lot of great female talent. I would like to see it in other roles in the vendor side. I also would love to see more on the practitioner side. So let's unpack it. What do we think? How we can handle it better? I have some thoughts. I know that you have some thoughts about it.
Yes. So the way to handle it, I'll say it like everything else I do. You handle it. You need to grow a pair. Sorry for the bad analogy here. And
If you don't have a pair, you're still fine.
yes, yes. But I'm talking about the male that own part of the recruiting process. They need to grow a pair, make the decision. Don't color, don't whitewash it. Don't make excuses. Just do it. And here,
So you're saying first, male hiring managers make a decision that you're bringing female employees. That's what you're saying.
Yes, make the decision and don't tokenize it. Please don't tokenize it, because one of the biggest problem is the tokenism. That you hire somebody, which is wrong for the job, wrong for everything, just to check a box.
Fill up the box.
Just to check the box. So don't tokenize it. The way to solve this problem, at least, I can't say it for everybody. I'm saying what Dennis and I did to solve a lot of this problem was, first, be matrix based. Stop with the biases. If you think you don't have biases, you're full
Everybody
of shit.
has.
Everybody
of
has
course,
biases.
no matter what your gender is.
Exactly. You're full of shit. You have biases. Don't, if you want to hire without biases, hire based on metrics. Sales are metrics driven. Engineering is metrics driven. Give tests. So here's an example of how I think you should hire a sales person, and it doesn't matter if it's man or woman. And this is a metrics-based approach. You ask them to bring you at least 2 or 3 of their current customer from their current space and talk and pitch the product to them and have a conversation about this. If they can't do this, if they can't show this, if they can't deal with this as kind of a person, doesn't matter. Then it doesn't matter if they have the gear, they don't have the gear. It's an empirical problem to solve. If you hire a marketeer, ask them to write something. If they can't write, they're not good. If you hire an engineer, you ask them to code. Make sure that there's a practical aspect of that.
And it's not just you chatting
Not just you
on
and
interview.
And I'll give you an example. I want to abstract this so nobody can trace it back. But in one of my parts of my career, I brought a lady candidate that I had a lot of faith in. And I brought her to talk to the team. And back then, we have established processes of the Java test that Dennis talked about and a few other things. We had established processes of testing. And I come back and ask the people that interviewed her, what do you think? And one says, I think she'll have a problem with the work-life balance. I told him, dude, I didn't ask you about her personality, her work-life balance. I have HR to deal with this. This is not your job. How do you think she'll qualify for the job? How does she code in Java? And he says, I don't know. I said, then you didn't do your job.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why do you talk to her about work-life balance? That's not your job to do. You're there to be a professional evaluator. And that highlighted of the challenge. I said, would you have talked to
a man and ask him about his work-life balance? I think it's so important to have this less biased ways of evaluating candidates, like tests or homework or whatever. Also because of the tendency of, it's less female will bullshit the way in an interview, maybe. But some of us will, but we've talked about the BS aspect of it. And at the same time, also having this imposter syndrome of, oh, I'm applying for this job with this list of qualification, and I'm not sure that I have point 3, 5, and 7 actually completely kind of covered. So women come with some insecurities about it, and I've seen most men, they're fine with that.
I've never read a job description of a job I apply to.
There
Never, ever.
And I'm like, when I read a job description, all I think is like, how do I explain that I never did number 3, but I understand it. And that's all I'm thinking. So I come insecure into
And for
the
me,
interview.
they're lucky to have me.
Yeah.
I have arrived. They're lucky to have me.
So
But I think I'm a little bit on the...
you're on the far right part of the spectrum. But I do think that men have a more holistic view of themselves and they question themselves less than female. I don't know if it's the way we're being brought up or it's a natural difference. But yes, research shows that women suffer more from men have imposter syndrome. Let's not say it, that they don't. But
I don't.
you don't, but as we said, you're an extreme. So in general, actually, it's not just also male and female, because also research shows that in various way, minorities sometimes have more imposters or are more aware of things. They don't have, if you're not coming from an Ivy League school, if you're not having this degree. We talked with Kayla a few weeks ago, and she talked about completely removing all those college degree or certification needs from the job descriptions, because it does make people that have different backgrounds not apply, because they say, oh, I don't have this very expensive certification. I did not have the time to even invest in doing it because I had to work. You know, some of those certifications, it means you take time off 2 months and learn for them. Some people cannot afford it. So I think
there's also
focusing in what is the actual thing you need to deliver in the job and test for that, and forget about, you know, talking to people that might be a little bit insecure. Yes, it's natural, right?
Yep. Like, you know, my focus is on 2 things and 2 things only. And that's my only hiring criteria for every position. Smart, get shit done. Everything else doesn't matter. The other interesting aspect, we were discussing confidence. And I don't know if you know, when we talk about BS, truth, not truth, do you know what is the definition of truth in the Catholic Church? This is a funny thing.
Being Jewish, I'm not sure that I know.
If the Pope said that, it's God's truth. So that is the definition of the truth.
Okay.
So from my perception, I said it. It's right.
You're not the Pope.
True, but I am Polish. In some parts. Oh, I think the one that is not Polish. I think he's German, which is the other side. So I'm still cool.
The Didi and Lital Show will return in a moment. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by ORT. In today's world, identities are the perimeter protecting the organization and are the most exploited vector by attackers. If your security teams are struggling to maintain control of identity management tools, ORT can help. ORT offers a centralized platform for discovering, monitoring, assessing, and remediating identity threats to your business. While most security platforms can take weeks or months to start identifying and remediating risks, with ORT, your security teams can get started in as little as 30 minutes and start securing the identity perimeter immediately. ORT will surface the most critical vulnerabilities and give your security teams the recommended action steps. Start your trial today at ORT.io. That's OORT.io. The Didi and Lital Show is sponsored by Hunters. Hunters is a SaaS platform purpose-built for security operation teams, providing unlimited data ingestion and normalization at a predictable cost. Hunters helps SOC teams mitigate real threats faster and more reliably than SIM. Visit hunters.ai to learn more.
Okay. I want to talk, though, we talked a lot about hiring and so, but here, this point about work-life balance. Women go on maternity leave. Women need this. And I think this is where we see that, you know, when the having kids, bringing up kids come into the discussion when you're usually in your mid-career. How much do I need to lean in? How much it's time to slow down my career? Maybe I take a few years off. This is something that I think is an important topic. It's controversial. I have strong opinions about it, and I think women should consider it. The pandemic was devastating point in time for many women's career. It was also good in a sense that now we kind of
Working from home is
normalize
acceptable.
working from home and remote work or hybrid. So I think there are a lot of new opportunities now. But let's unpack. I mean, there is a real issue, and I have my employees, female employees, in different stages of their lives. I have male employees in different stages of their lives. Some have new babies. Some just ready to get married. Some already have grown-up kids. There are stages in life, and career doesn't always fit. And we need to think and plan for it. That's how I treated my own career. I still treat it. I have probably a perspective of 20 years of like starting as a junior and kind of like never stopping, even when we had kids. And we had 3 kids in 2 years. So there have been challenges, but I don't regret anything. And I think we want to help. So I'll let you first talk about it, and let's bring the topic.
So I grew up with, I don't know, maybe my parents were a little bit ahead of the times. As you know, the number one career in my family was my mom, not my dad.
So your dad is an OBGYN,
Was an OBGYN.
a surgeon,
A surgeon.
and your mom,
A Supreme
nowadays,
Court-
she is a Supreme Court judge. At the days, she was...
She was an ADA, an assistant district attorney. And my grandma basically said, get a nanny. She'll cost more than you make, because my mom was a civil servant, so civil servants make shit. And she said, it will eventually
Pay off.
Eventually pay off.
Yeah.
And it did.
So you grew up with some nannies, still parents around, of course, but...
Yes. Still parents around, still grandparents around. But if you think of us growing up in our day and age, in the 2nd grade, I walked home from school with a keychain and opened the door of my house. And I had lunch in the fridge, which I stuck into a microwave and heated up. And, well, in theory...
You survived.
Of course I survived. In theory...
it's
in theory, I was supposed to do my homework, but as you know, I didn't. I used to walk over to Shlomi's, and we used to go around and run around and do whatever we wanted.
Later, you went surfing,
Like,
skipped
went
school.
surfing, skip school.
Your mom didn't come to speak to the teacher when she called.
That was even more funny, because my mom basically said, I went to enough years of school. You deal with him. Why do you think I can deal with him? So things were a little bit different growing up in the 80s in Tel Aviv. But I think the career first parent, if you care about diversity, moms need to give examples, because when you off-road, it's really go back. But when you off-ramp, it's really hard to on-ramp. And when you come in, there's an expectation, and there will be questions. The other thing that I do believe in is, don't ask those questions. Don't put this in the interview part. The on-ramping, the off-ramping. See if somebody's qualified to do their job. Focus less on the past. Focus more on what's possible to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And the other aspect is apply positive pressure on your channels of hiring. I know that I'm reversing back into how do you get to hire.
We'll get back. So keep this because I don't want. I want to stay for a second on topic,
Okay.
which is rare when we talk. And I want to bring my perspective. I 100% agree with the approach of planning for having kids, planning on how you're going to handle it. And yes, my female and also male friends, first male friends, give support to your spouse. Make sure.
Except that sometimes she'll be more successful than you are.
I mean, I hope you would like it to be that way. I mean, and by the way, for you women out there, before you get married, if you really care about your career, when you date a guy that cares about his partner's career, wants her to succeed, supports her. If you don't want to be a stay-at-home mom, don't marry a guy that wants to marry a stay-at-home mom. He wants to marry a career woman. You check that your values match. I think marrying a person that will be a partner in parenting and career growth is one of the most important things you could do.
Is it time for me to toot my own horn about when the twins were at a certain age? I said, now I'm kicking you out of the house. You need to go back to a job so your brain evolves back.
Yeah, I mean, when I was on maternity leave, and in Israel you get great maternity leave, it's a little bit longer. We had twins and they were premature born, so I got extra time. But after a while, Didi was like, okay, enough is enough.
You're becoming stupid.
And yeah, so yes, I still felt like the babies need me. I'm still tired, but gradually I walked back into my position. It wasn't easy, guys. Like, I pumped like crazy in the bathroom. Let's say it's like you need to deal with a lot. It's physically, mentally, like you're torn. You're coming back to. I was at the time at P&G. I was an innovation scout looking for startups in the Israeli ecosystem. This global CEO of P&G was visiting, and we had to prepare his visit. And I was just back from maternity leave, as I said, carrying backpack with breast pump to keep on feeding very hungry, premature born twins.
Very, very hungry still applies to Ron.
Yeah. But I did it. It was hard. We had full support of a nanny. It cost us more than my income. But at the end of the day, long term, when I think about it, there are those tough 10 years of your kids, being, not on free public schools. I mean, if you are into the public schools, like going into nanny, daycare, all these things that are very expensive. So yes, you're paying for that. But if you think about it, you still keep your brain working. You are engaged. You don't have a big gap. The industry is still moving with you and you're not behind and need to catch up after this 10 years. You can decide if you want to work from home, do hybrid, work something with your partner that he will take some time, do these things if you are close to the grandparents, do the thing that one grandparent support you one afternoon, and if you do whatever you can. It takes a village to have a career and bring up kids. But I want to say it's about 10 tough years. And those 10 years are very, very, very critical if you want to go then to the C-suite. If you miss this 10 years of your 30s, in general, this is prime time. Unfortunately, yes, you can go back, and I'm not saying if you choose to be with your kids, if you're, we're privileged to have this. Not everybody has the privilege of being able to pay for daycare and everything. But even if you feel it's like you don't have one dime left after paying for all the nanny support and daycare and stuff, I think it's still in the long run worth
Investing
it.
in your career.
Worth it. You will see the growth. You will see all the benefits of your kids seeing you as, career leader in the house. So yeah, and talk to me. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about helping people figure out how it's possible. I think there are ways to do it. I think this is the area when we need most, even more than the recruiting. I know that you'll be back in a second talking about recruiting, which is fine. I don't think we have such an issue in the junior level. I think it's mid-management and then jumping from management into the C-suite that the problem is. And I think part of it, and I have to say, moving also from Israel, where the economic situation forces women to stay in the game, because basically without having a family of two jobs, a two-income family, you'll be really back. The cost of living is so high, so everybody is staying. Also, people live close to the grandparents. It's more kind of like the village is closer. You have a support system.
I think for Israel, the more important aspect is actually the acceptance. Even though it's a very army-based military society.
Yeah, but women are in the military, so it's normalized.
Even with all that, I think I've seen less people ask about work-life balance and doesn't she want to stay home with the kids. These questions I've almost never encountered.
They never, because you see all those women working around. And here, I've seen so many bright women, master's degree, PhDs,
they feel
invested
guilty.
so much in their career.
And feel guilty about having a job.
Yeah. Or they feel like the expectation is you stay with your kids and then everything you invested and you end up just volunteering as a PTO mom, which is fine if this is what you want to do. But we're here to help those that want to keep their career. Please, cupcakes and, all those things, they're great.
No,
if I have the time to create cupcakes.
No, they're not great. I think this is it. So Nico and I had a very fun discussion about this. This is stupidity of keeping the past as the past and a way to keep the past. A long time ago, 1 million years ago, a cake was a product of luxury. If you took the materials and created a cake, the uplift between material to cake was huge because people lived in farms. So all those stupid bake sales and all these things that they do, which are stupid, and I'll say it again, they're stupid, used to work in an economy where the lift between material to product was 500%. Right now, you sell it at a loss compared to the materials that you spend.
Of course, because your time is worth more than that.
Forget the time. Just the materials you buy at Whole Foods make the cake 10 times more expensive to make than the price that you'll actually sell. Nobody will buy a $200 cake. If you buy flour, eggs, and whatever you buy at Whole Foods, that's $50 just as a starting time. Add the electricity and everything else. Now you're at
and the alternative cost of your time baking it. So
all you annoying parents, stop bugging me about useless fetch a rock exercises. Start a fund me fund the school with a fund me fund.
GoFundMe.
And exactly. And watch the South Park episode about GoFundMe. You'd love it with Cartman.
So if the school need funds, let's give them money. Forget about the bake sale. Get your goodies from your favorite shop, and please keep your career. If you have a PhD, if you went to college, go and do something. There's so much brain power that is being lost for
and also
staying at home and doing PTO meetings.
And last but not least, because we are going to run out of time.
You wanted to bring the recruiting
parts. Recruiters do the least friction possible.
So they want to get paid.
Exactly.
So bring your candidate and
sorry,
move on.
And sorry, El, we'd love to have you on our session. But recruiters don't. They are a business. you need to apply to them an incentive program, or both positive and negative, about making sure
Are you
that
giving them a bigger commission if they're bringing you the
No,
right
I
female candidate?
I just stopped talking to them after they don't bring me 50% pipeline.
50% of women in the pipeline.
Last I checked, in the population when I go out, 50-50.
Yeah.
The pipeline I'm expecting to be 50-50. They'll tell me that it's 1 in 10, and I said, BS. You just need to look.
Okay. So ask your recruiter for more female. I think it is a tough topic. We can talk more about, how to make sure female are promoted from mid management to top management. I think that's another topic, and we can spend a full episode about it. I want women that are in this path in their career, in this point, they get married, they want to have kids, they just had kids, they're not sure about what to do and whether they should go back, whether they should take longer maternity leave, whether they should completely drop it. Talk to us.
Yep.
We can help with some ideas.
And don't forget, we have opinions.
We have opinions, maybe too much of them. But we're not going to sugarcoat it. We think you need to stay in the market. Don't leave. And the pandemic did huge damage to so many women that had to homeschool their kids. Thank goodness we don't need to homeschool our kids anymore. But there are teachers to do it, unless you really want it. I don't know. But I assume if you had a career, homeschooling is not necessarily what you want to do. So don't put your kids in school. They'll be fine. They'll be okay. And they'll see what awesome mom they have. I think our kids are fine.
And
maybe not perfect. Nobody's perfect.
And
we'll pay for the therapy if they need one.
And I'll quote Paul Simon that said, "When I think back of all the crap I learned at high school, it's a wonder I can think at all." So schooling is overrated. Schooling is a place to a place to stick the kids for 12 years until they get to a place where they can actually learn something.
And I want to finish by just telling that. So a week ago, we had time off and we were hiking in Sedona and Grand Canyon. And we had an awesome hiking guide. Her name is Janelle. She made me think about how strong women are and how inspiring they are. She is the most resourceful person I have ever seen. She speaks more than 10 languages from places that she visited, and she picked up the language. She was in Tibet and Nepal and Africa and so many places. She's going to spend a few months in the Middle East, in Jordan now, and she's picking up now Arabic and learning. She is traveling the world. She will tour guide in places she never been to. She just studies
ahead of time.
She studies ahead of time, learns everything about the place, prepare. I was humbled by the knowledge. And that made me think she has all the capabilities to be a CEO, right? She thinks about the scenarios. She can do so many things. There's so many women like her. I'm not saying what she's doing is the best thing for her. She enjoys every minute. So Janelle, don't become a CEO. It's not what I'm saying, but she just made me think of how much people don't appreciate those soft skills, the grit, the smartness, the ability to handle the situation that a lot of female have. All the skills that she has are the perfect skills for a CEO. She can handle new situations she's never been to with other people that she need to blindly lead. She told us so many stories of being stuck in weird situations, extreme weather while backpacking, and wow. I was really humbled. So I want to tell everyone, you have a Janelle in you. So many females that I see around can do more than they think they could. So go get it out and explore it either while hiking and traveling the world or traveling corporate life, whatever works for you.
Cool. Awesome. I think
We're good for today.
I think we can get off our
Well,
soapboxes.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for listening. The Didi and Lital Show is a weekly podcast. Find us and rate us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to be on our show, please reach out to Didi and I. Until next time, thank you so much.
And get an Hawaiian shirt. Summer is here.
It's time.
It's time.
Thank you.